Have you ever wondered why so many people believe it's impossible to achieve financial stability, earning up to $3,000 a month? That idea has spread so widely that it's almost become an absolute truth. But today, I want to show you that the problem isn't the salary, it's the strategy. In this video, you'll learn how to organize your financial life in a realistic, practical, and sustainable way, even with a limited income. No magic formulas or unrealistic promises, just simple principles that actually work when applied consistently. After studying financial patterns and following everyday people as they got out of financial stress, one thing became clear. Stability doesn't start when you earn more. It starts when you decide to manage better what you already make. When we talk about earning up to $3,000 a month, the situation is usually very similar for most people. The paycheck comes in, the bills go out almost immediately, and by the end of the month, there's little or nothing left. No matter how hard you work, the feeling is always the same, running all the time but going nowhere. Many people live with a constant tightness in their chest because they know that any unexpected event, a health issue, a car repair, an unexpected layoff can turn into a financial crisis. There's no margin for error. With no savings and no emergency fund, the credit card becomes an extension of the paycheck, and debt starts being used as a temporary solution. What's most frustrating is that this creates a dangerous cycle. People work more to compensate, become exhausted, make worse financial decisions, and drift even further away from stability. Over time, the belief forms that the problem is low income, when in reality, the biggest challenge is the lack of financial structure. And that's exactly the confusion we need to clear up before moving forward. Earning up to $3,000 a month does not mean you're doomed to financial instability. It also doesn't mean living comfortably. That's the key point. This level of income requires awareness and intention. It allows for organization, security, and progress, but it doesn't forgive repeated mistakes. The problem begins when this amount is treated as if it were unlimited. Small excesses, automatic decisions, and poorly thought out expenses pile up until they consume the entire income. And when that happens, the false conclusion appears that the salary isn't enough, when in reality it was simply mismanaged. The truth is simple but uncomfortable. Financial stability doesn't come from how much you earn, but the difference between what comes in and what goes out every month. People with lower incomes manage to stabilize their finances, while others, earning more, live in constant chaos. Understanding this completely changes the game, because from this point on, the focus stops being earning more and becomes using money better. Before we continue, I'd like to ask you to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Let me introduce myself. My name is Felipe, and I'll help you on your journey in the world of finance. Now, let's get back to the video. One of the biggest financial mistakes people who earn up to $3,000 a month make is trying to live as if they earned much more. Every time income increases, lifestyle rises along with it. A better apartment, a more expensive car, more subscriptions, and more small expenses that seem harmless. This phenomenon has a name: lifestyle inflation, and it destroys any chance of stability. Living below your means does not mean living poorly. It means consciously choosing not to spend everything you could spend. It's understanding that stability comes from the space left in your budget, not from the outward appearance of success. Those who spend everything they earn remain vulnerable. Those who spend less create protection. Many people believe they need to earn more first and organize later. In practice, the opposite almost always happens. Those who learn to live below their means create financial margin, reduce stress, and begin to gain real control over their lives. This pillar is uncomfortable at first because it goes against social pressure and constant comparison. But this is exactly where stability begins to take shape. When you accept living one step below what you could afford, you gain something far more valuable: predictability. And that predictability opens space for the next step, which is structuring your income in an intelligent way. After deciding to live below your means, the next step is to give every dollar that comes in a clear purpose. Without a defined structure, money tends to disappear. Not because you overspend all at once, but because it gets consumed little by little without intention. A simple and effective way to organize an income of up to $3,000 is to use a basic split, something like 50 to 60% for essential needs, 20 to 30% for savings and investments, and the remainder for lifestyle and flexibility. This isn't a rigid rule, but a starting point. It exists to bring awareness and balance. The most common mistake is treating savings as whatever is left at the end of the month. In reality, there's almost never anything left. When you pay yourself first, even with a small amount, stability begins to be built consistently. This structure also reduces emotional decision-making. You stop constantly asking yourself whether you can or can't spend, because the budget already answers that for you. As a result, money stops being a constant source of anxiety and becomes a tool. But no structure works if fixed expenses are out of control. And that's exactly where many people lose the game without realizing it. When the budget doesn't work, the problem is almost always fixed expenses. Rent, transportation, internet, phone plans, insurance, and monthly subscriptions consume most of the income of those who earn up to $3,000. And the danger is that because they're automatic, these expenses stop being questioned. Many people try to save by cutting small pleasures, but ignore the big financial leaks. Rent that's too high for your income or a car that's too expensive can make any plan useless. No matter how organized you are, if fixed costs are high, stability becomes unreachable. Having absolute control means reviewing everything, negotiating plans, canceling forgotten subscriptions, rethinking where you live, and evaluating whether your transportation choice makes sense for your current reality. These decisions aren't easy, but they have direct and lasting impact. The most important thing to understand is that fixed expenses are not unchangeable. They only seem permanent because they're rarely questioned. When you reduce these costs, you create immediate space in your budget without needing to earn more. That space is critical because it allows you to build the next pillar of stability, the ability to handle unexpected events without falling into financial panic. Without an emergency fund, any problem becomes a crisis. That's why many people feel like they're always one step away from financial disaster, even when they manage to pay all their bills. All it takes is one thing going off plan for everything to collapse. An emergency fund is exactly what creates that line of protection. It doesn't exist to generate returns or make you feel rich. It exists to give you peace of mind. Having 3 to 6 months of basic expenses saved completely changes how you deal with life. Fear decreases, anxiety drops, and decisions become more rational. For those earning up to $3,000, this fund doesn't need to be built all at once. The mistake is thinking it's only worth starting when you can save a lot. In practice, everything begins with a simple goal, like saving the first $1,000. That amount alone is often enough to avoid debt in many common emergencies. The most important thing is understanding the correct order. Before thinking about investing, before chasing higher returns, the priority is safety. Without this foundation, any financial progress becomes unstable. And it's precisely the lack of this safety that pushes many people into the next major problem, relying on debt just to survive.
Debt is one of the biggest obstacles for anyone trying to become financially stable while earning up to $3,000 a month. Not because all debt is bad, but because high-interest debt works silently against you. Credit cards, personal loans, and poorly planned financing consume your future before the money even arrives. The biggest danger of toxic debt is that it creates the illusion of control. It feels like everything is under control as long as the minimum payment is made, but behind the scenes, interest is growing. And the lower the income, the greater the impact those interest charges have on the monthly budget. Many people try to invest while still carrying expensive debt, believing they are getting ahead of the future. In reality, this is like trying to fill a bucket with holes. Before thinking about growth, you need to stop the leaks. Eliminating debt requires focus and priority. It means directing extra resources toward paying it off as quickly as possible, even if progress feels slow at first. Every debt that's paid off frees up both mental and financial space. When debt stops draining your money, stability begins to become visible, and from that point on, you can finally move forward without constantly being pulled backward. Even with good planning, many people fail for a simple reason. They rely too much on willpower. Deciding every month how much to save, when to invest, and what to pay first is mentally exhausting, and the more tired you are, the higher the chances of making mistakes. Automating your finances solves this exact problem. When savings, investments, and essential bills are set up to happen automatically, money no longer goes through emotional decision-making. It simply follows the plan. For those earning up to $3,000, this is even more important. Small delays or impulsive choices have a bigger impact on the budget. Automation creates consistency, even in difficult months. This can be done in a simple way. Automatic transfers on payday, recurring investments with small amounts, and fixed bills set to autopay. It's not about complexity, it's about predictability. When you automate, stress goes down and the chances of maintaining good habits over the long term go up. And with this foundation running on autopilot, space opens up to think about the next step in stability, making your money work for you, even if you're starting small. One of the biggest myths about investing is the idea that it's only worth starting when you have a lot of money. For those earning up to $3,000 a month, this belief often delays years of progress. The truth is that investing is much more about consistency than initial amounts. Starting small allows you to build the habit and understand how the process works without pressure. Simple options like ETFs and index funds offer automatic diversification and don't require advanced knowledge. The focus here isn't on chasing quick gains, but on participating in long-term growth. When contributions are small and regular, time becomes your greatest ally. Even modest amounts invested consistently can produce meaningful results over the long run, and the earlier this process begins, the greater the impact of compound interest. The common mistake is trying to pick the perfect investment and ending up picking nothing. Simplicity works better than complexity, especially at the beginning. Starting today with what you have is always better than waiting for the perfect scenario. This step marks an important shift. Money stops being just something that comes in and goes out and starts working quietly in the background. But to accelerate this process, there's still one decisive factor that many people ignore. Even with control, organization, and investing, those earning up to $3,000 can greatly accelerate financial stability by increasing their income. The goal here isn't to work until exhaustion, but to use smart strategies to generate extra money without destroying quality of life. Extra income acts as an accelerant. It shortens the time needed to build an emergency fund, pay off debt, and invest more. And many times this can be done by leveraging skills you already have. Freelancing, short-term gigs, online services, and side hustles make it possible to earn more without relying on a traditional second job. The common mistake is thinking extra income has to be big or permanent. In practice, small but consistent amounts already make a difference. The focus should be on choosing an option that fits your current routine, not something that creates even more stress. When income increases, it's essential to maintain discipline and not automatically raise your lifestyle. Otherwise, the extra effort doesn't translate into real progress. With more income and control, stability stops feeling distant. But for all of this to truly work, you need to adopt the right long-term mindset. Everything discussed so far only works when there's a mindset aligned with the long term. Many people start off strong but quit early because they expect quick results. Financial stability isn't a one-time event. It's a continuous process built through small decisions repeated over time. If you've made it this far, you've probably realized that becoming financially stable while earning up to $3,000 doesn't depend on luck or a higher salary. It depends on conscious decisions made consistently. Each pillar we covered today is simple on its own, but together they build something powerful: control, security, and peace of mind.
The most important thing now is not to let this content become just another video you watched. Choose one single step and start today. Stability doesn't come from short-term motivation, but from repeated action. If this video helped you in any way, like it, subscribe to the channel, and comment below which of these steps you're going to apply first. That helps the channel grow and shows me that this content is actually making sense to you. The journey starts now, and you're already on the right path. Having a long-term mindset means understanding that consistency matters more than intensity. It's not about doing everything perfectly for a few months, but about maintaining good habits even when progress feels slow. For those earning up to $3,000, it's essential to respect the pace of the process without comparing yourself to completely different financial realities. Another essential point is prioritizing stability before luxury. Buying status before security almost always leads to setbacks. When the foundation is solid, growth happens naturally and sustainably. This shift in mindset transforms your relationship with money. It stops being a constant source of worry and becomes a tool for building your future. And with this foundation clear, we arrive at the final moment of the video, the decision to take action.